I hope you enjoyed the conference and I hope you learned a lot today. Lots of new tools, new approaches, you met wonderful people, and I'd like to jump on this train and introduce you to a new very cool tool, CodeceptJS. So I would call it supercharged end-to-end testing. Well, because I can and because I really do enjoy testing with CodeceptJS. So my name is Michael, and I will introduce you into this tool and show you the problem it actually solves. So I'm from Kyiv, Ukraine. I'm actually a web developer, but I also work as a test automation engineer to practice to see how people, what problems people do have when going with automated testing. And that's how I take this experience to make it an open source testing frameworks like, surprise, surprise, CodeceptJS. So yes, I'm lead developer of CodeceptJS as well, but also I like do testing with CodeceptJS. Well, I think it's fair enough to say this. I started my journey into open source testing frameworks with my previous project, Codeception, which is very popular in PHP community. And CodeceptJS takes this experience and brings this to a new level and gets into JavaScript ecosystem. Nowadays, I'm working for my own company, and we are building a test management system for automated tests, Testomato. Testomato is focused on JavaScript tests, so if you have a total mess with your tests, Testomato can organize it for you. That's the idea. So I would start my talk with the question about, do you remember that old good days when everything was pretty predictable, where everything was stable? And I'm not talking about the things like that you could travel to all the places you want, you could talk to people you want to. I'm talking about just engineering stuff that previously we had only one tool. It was called Selenium, and we used it to test everything that is related to browser. If you need Selenium, you would probably choose Java. If you need, maybe you will need Python or Ruby, but you will choose Selenium. It's a certain decision. There was absolutely no alternatives on these days. But today we live in the era of uncertainty. The JavaScript spawned and it created a wonderful ecosystem of different tools. And today, choosing a right tool for the job is a tricky question because we have Cypress, we have WebDriver, Playwright, Cucumber, Jest, Mocha, and wow, how much of things you need to learn today to choose the right tool for the job. We definitely live in the era of uncertainty, and much more stress brings the questions I'm trying to list when I'm asking for a client for a new test automation project, because we can start writing tests, but then client came out and say, hey, I learned about the BDD yesterday. It's so awesome. I want to write this test myself in Gherkin language. Can our tool write tests in Gherkin? Good question, especially if we already have our tests not in Gherkin, but in JavaScript. Can we easily introduce BDD level on top of it? Oh, the client came, I need Internet Explorer. You will hate me for this, but we need Internet Explorer because I have lots of enterprise clients. Can your tool easily switch to Enterprise Explorer on the fly when all the tests, especially with BDD and all that stuff, were already written? That's a good question. Hey, client comes again. I need Safari support. Well, Safari is fair enough. Safari is modern browser. Everyone uses it. And if our tool can do Safari or not, this is also can be tricky for some kind of tools. But we need to be prepared for all those changes all this time. Can we adjust our tests to be executed on all those different environments? And especially for mobile browsers, because world goes mobile, and tested in mobile is also a hard requirement that client may not be fully aware of at the beginning of the journey, but will be asking when you have some of tests, and they will ask you, could you write this, execute this test on mobile and this test? So mobile browser can be a new requirement as well. And again, it's era of uncertainty. We don't know what a new tool will come up this year, because every year some good test automation tool emerges. The previous year we received Playwright from Microsoft. Previously we got Puppeteer, there was Test Cafe, Cypress. So lots of new tools are coming out here and there, and maybe 2021 year brings us something new. Will we be able to switch to it? If it's so new, so cool, it's Cypress killer, Playwright killer, absolutely anything killer, maybe we should try it as well, and without rewriting tests. Is it ever possible? So this question we can address to CodeceptJS. CodeceptJS is BDD-style testing framework. BDD-style means that we write our tests in human-like language, and we try to avoid some complex JavaScript interaction and keeping the code as readable as possible. And it's solely focused on browser testing, that it makes it different from Mocha or Jest. But it has API for all browser engines. So unlike Cypress, CodeceptJS doesn't run tests on its own. It delegates the running to Playwright, to WebDriver, to Protractor, to Puppeteer, to Test Cafe. So CodeceptJS can easily be switch execution from between all those engines. And yes, it comes with Cucumber BDD support in case your client really needs it. So here is the test in CodeceptJS. As you can see, you can read it. Yeah, it's very straightforward. You don't need to look into documentation. You don't need to think of what is happening on the screen. You can already understand everything that is happening here. So CodeceptJS supports clicking by button names, by button text, by CSS, XPath, everything. So you can make your test as readable as possible when writing tests with CodeceptJS. So CodeceptJS is pretty easy to install. It's just one command. And by default, it comes with Playwright, because I think Playwright is really awesome nowadays. And I would choose Playwright for my next test because it's multi-browser, multi-platform, and I would recommend it to everyone. But CodeceptJS can be installed without Playwright. It's just an opinionated decision which you can easily switch. So CodeceptJS comes with a demo project, but let's start with a new empty project. You will need to initialize your new tests and select browser engine, select browser, answer this boring question, and create a first test. So when we did this, we get into the first test created. The test should contain only these two steps: open a page and launch the pause. Now I'd like you to introduce into another cool feature of CodeceptJS is pause. Pause replaces all your tests that needs to go after the opening the page. So pause is awesome. Let me show you. So I'm executing this test. It's running in my browser. It opens Airbnb website with a Playwright. And after the page is opened, the execution is paused. So now I can open my DevTools and think of what should I do next. You see this my terminal. You see this pause message here. So when I'm not sure what should I test, what should I start with, I'm just starting with the pause. The page is opened. As the DevTools are opened, I can navigate through the page and pick different elements, pick different commands, try them, and this is how it goes. For instance, let me show you how we deal with calendars here. I have my DevTools opened on the bottom and terminal on the right. I write my commands into the terminal and I check if I can find elements by the locators I just picked up. For instance, I found that I can select date with test ID locator, and I try it. Yeah, it worked, and this the date was selected. Then I press key enter, and I see that browser acts correspondingly. So I continue to do my actions by writing commands, selecting elements, and this is I'm writing my tests in the real time. So when we finish picking up commands and we finished our tests, we go back to the editor and our commands were saved into CLI history file. What I do, I copy my commands from this file. Only successful commands were saved. I remove the pause, and voila, here is my test. It's included all the commands I had. So I was executing this browser once, and I didn't do any blind guesses, blind searches. I executed the test, and the test is here. By the way, I could write my commands, and I have very nice auto-completion support. So everyone can start CodeceptJS because the commands are very easy to catch up. For instance, this is the test we finished with, but as you see, it's very easy to read. So junior engineers can read it, and they don't really care of how it is executed. They don't need to learn APIs of different frameworks, only these commands, which are very well documented and auto-completed. How hard is to switch browser engine? Basically like this. We go to config and we change from Playwright to WebDriver, and we can expect that the test will be executed similarly. Not the same way, because you see the WebDriver will work a bit differently than Playwright. Maybe at some points you will see crashes, but the idea is that the commands are the same. So all the difference can be easily fixed with maybe add some waiting, change some locator. So for most of the tests, the transition will work smoothly. For 95% of test code, you will require no change. So this solves the problem I mentioned. So if you need to transform your tests to Playwright, you can easily transform them. If you need WebDriver, you can just change config. Maybe you will need to change to Test Cafe for Internet Explorer support. This also works. And yeah, this is really powerful. CodeceptJS also comes with built-in UI, a graphical interactive test runner that can show step-by-step report of all executed tests. So you can use it as a reporting tool. You can see how the execution goes. And it has also some features that Terminal has, but some more advanced as well. For instance, you can keep one browser without relaunching a test, and switch easily between headless and window mode. Also in CodeceptJS, we have a built-in reporting support. So one of the best supported tool here is CodeceptUI for sure, because CodeceptUI is add-on to CodeceptJS. So, but the screenshot on the right is not from CodeceptUI. Maybe you already guessed what it is. It's Allure reporting. So CodeceptJS has built-in support for Allure reports. In case you need better reports to show to your clients, or just to see what was happened on CI in production, so you could track the changes on your tests. We also do support the more enterprisey technologies like Report Portal. We have official CodeceptJS agent in Report Portal organization, so you can have Report Portal reports with CodeceptJS. And Testometeo, the tool I'm working on, is also tries to bring better reporting to your end-to-end tests. So reports are pretty important in nowadays testing, because, well, not everything can be shown from console, and for sure your managers, your clients won't look to console to see what tests are passed, what tests not, for what reasons. They want a clean, nice graphical UI to understand this. This is why CodeceptJS provides so many options for reports, because depending on your budget, depending on your conditions, you can choose whatever tool you want. By the way, all those 3 tools are absolutely open source. You can start working with them and with CodeceptJS today. So let me sum up some important features of CodeceptJS. Not mentioned features of CodeceptJS, because you already heard of switching between engines, interactive polls, easy to learn syntax. What else do we have? And yes, I was already showing this a bit. Maybe you have already seen it. So we support parallel execution by workers. So very modern, very elegant API. You can write your own custom runner, so you could parallelize your tests however you want. For instance, run tests in 2 groups, in 2 browsers from Firefox, or make 4 groups at Safari. So you can split tests however you want into groups, bring as many browsers you need, and have parallel executions, and have single report after this. That's really cool. Also built in and a simply working solution for failed steps, so automatic retries for steps. So if some element is not found on page on first try, you won't even notice it. CodeceptJS will retry this and wait for it to appear without even notifying you. So it works for any command, click, see, so whatever it is. So it just works. Just don't touch it and you are fine. CodeceptJS takes the traditional concept of page objects, and it's built into the framework, so you can easily refactor your code to make it easy to be used in other tests. So page objects, step object, data objects are all built in. And as I mentioned previously, we have Cucumber BDD support built on top of CodeceptJS. So this is really awesome because you can combine true BDD with specifications in JavaScript like CodeceptJS tests. This is important because not all tests should be written in the truly BDD manner, because not all tests are features. So because there are some, you need to have regression tests for bugs. So my point is that you should combine BDD approach with classical approach, and only CodeceptJS testing framework allows you to do this. So another cool feature I really like is if you have API and you could communicate with your application via that API. For instance, you could create fixtures through this API, delete fixtures, and it is much easier to do it through the REST API web interface, through the REST API interface instead of web interface. So you can easily combine them together. And that's my final points. CodeceptJS is a testing framework, and what differs it from other, it focuses on end-to-end testing without executing your end-to-end test by itself. So it tries to take the best user experience into itself to make testing as easy as possible. So CodeceptJS is absolutely free, open source. You can contribute on it. There are already big and small companies using CodeceptJS and enjoying it. So join our team, join our community, try CodeceptJS on your own to check it, and it works really great with Playwright. Thanks for watching. My name is Michael, and see you soon.